right here, Paradox Diaries 7.1. Okay, do you want better skin? Do you want better sleep? Do you want less irritation? All right, you don't have to wait 2 minutes for me to tell you the secret. Just do exactly what I'm doing right now. Doesn't matter how you do it. Of course, take care in how you're doing it. But this is going to be a basic thing that if you just do this 10 minutes a day, 5 days a week, it's going to work. I'm not going to tell you what it's going to do, but it's going to do something, and it's going to be something really good. So that's all you need to listen to. I've got more coming up, but that's the short. Just shake for 10 days in a row. Try that 10 minutes, 10 days in a row. And if you don't see noticeable change in a number of things, I genuinely, I would like to hear about it, because I'm pretty certain this is the basic key to your body. I think this is actually far more important and basic than breath work. Not breathing, specifically breath work. The great thing is, if you want to really amp it, you also add breath to it. So shaking is great. Shaking is great. Breath work is great, like 5 breaths a minute. That's all you need. There's lots of other options, but if you can just get down to 5 breaths a minute, that is magic. And I won't tell you why. I'll just tell you that it's balancing, as this is actually. And if you can merge those two together, then you're creating something that's quite amazing if you do it regularly. Because what I'm doing right now is I'm doing a couple things. I'm negotiating with my nervous system. The so-called autonomic nervous system is not at all inaccessible. You can't directly control it. You have as much control of your autonomic system as you do of a good friend. And what I mean by that is, if you have good communication, you can get the message across. Let me give you a specific example. When you breathe 5 breaths a minute, it's a balancing breath. If you are running and you force yourself to breathe 5 breaths a minute, in for a count of 6, out for a count of 6, you're telling your body, even though it's stressful, you're actually controlling and doing something with your vagal nerve. So you can actually send messages. Now, it's influence, it's not control. But when I talk to you, I can't control you. I can only influence you. As far as I can tell, there's literally no difference between that. It's just that communication is often considered language, but you know what? This noise that I'm doing, this is the universal language. The body does this to itself already, right? The body breathes already. So this is an autonomic process already going on in your body at every level. Shaking, it does it. I mean, look it up. Noise is part of the cleaning of stochastic systems. So this is the basic motion of your body. And what you're just doing is you're helping it along. I'm doing this, I'm cleaning out my lymphatic system. I'm actually refreshing the collagen. I'm refreshing the skin. So this is doing amazing stuff. And also, as soon as you do this and you go to bed, you're already ahead on sleep. So actually shaking helps you get ahead on sleep. Shaking helps you get ahead on stretching. And shaking is going to help you get ahead on strength, I suspect, because you're getting rid of all the noise in the body and the muscles. So by the time you start using your muscles, since your nervous system is turned down, you try to use your muscles, they're going to work better because there's less noise in the body. So the signal is going to be stronger. So I don't know that that's the case, but I mean, based on everything else, I don't see why. It seems like it has to be the case. Okay, now I've been holding in my hand a general model. I'm going to just read this off. Forget the model. I've already covered 3 things in this: shake, breathe, and aligning those two together. Alignment of your shaking, your breathing. So let me demonstrate that real quick. I'm going to inhale to maybe 4 or 5, count, maybe 6, who knows? And then I'm going to exhale for at least that long or longer. So I'm going to go symmetrical, but I'm going to probably exhale longer. Another trick there, if you do that, you're going to tend to encourage your body to slow down a bit. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to inhale, and when I'm doing it, I'll point up and down so I can actually inhale and not talk while I'm doing it. So here we go. Now, I would encourage you to practice that kind of breathing, not moving. And I would encourage you to practice shaking, not worrying about breathing. And then I would suggest you try them together, because guess what? They both do great things for you, and they do great things together. But you can sit at your desk and breathe. You can sit in your car and breathe. If you're going to do breathing work in the car, don't do anything fancy. 5 breaths a minute, in for 6, out for 6, because that is homeostatic. It will bring your body into balance. If you're wired, it'll bring you down. If you're tired, it will bring you up, right? Don't do shaking in the car unless you've got enough music to justify it. And actually, honestly, if you've got good speakers, just let the speakers resonate through your body. It accomplishes the same thing from the outside, though from the inside it's going to be a little more direct. Okay, so the basic, just that takes care of today, right now. And what I mean by that is, if you got a lot of stress from the day and so on, shaking, breathing, and if you can put them together, that takes care of now. All right. So if this is all you do, if shaking is all you do, you're doing great. If breathing is all you do, honestly, you're doing great. I would recommend the shaking, but you know what? Breathing is awesome. If you do them both, you're going to get magnification. You're going to get amazing results. Again, the problem is it does require time. It requires looking like an idiot. All right. Just don't do it in front of people. I don't care if I look like an idiot, because it works. I get better sleep. My skin is looking good, etc. All right, now, next level. Let's talk about tomorrow. All right. So I'm going to give you 3 words: tend, stable, and open. So I'm going to start with open at the end. Open is what I've been calling deep flexibility. So stretching, holding long poses. It's going into discomfort and holding it. And in practicing holding into discomfort today, tomorrow discomfort, your ability to handle discomfort will be better. So if we work on discomfort and opening today, tomorrow your threshold will expand. Stable. I want to use isometrics. I want to add stability to my body, maybe working up the core, working up the spine. And I've done that a lot with y'all, using neck isometrics, pushing on the side of the head while also including Wu Chi. That's a really good thing. Planks. Really, the thing is, you want to do some kind of strengthening exercise. This is going to loosen you up and give you better ability to do it. And actually, can you hear that my voice is starting to bounce? My chest is starting to loosen up, and so that would normally be a little tighter, and so the wobble of my voice from the bounce wouldn't normally come through, but I can tell my friend is relaxing pretty well right now. All right. So, and then the other thing is tend. And for tend, you need to pay attention. All right. So, for example, I was just tending to myself, noticing my voice was wobbling. Right. But there's things that, like, for example, when you're doing deep flexibility, it's how you feel. It's not about how it looks. So I've actually had people comment on my, for example, my use of props, and they're saying, well, you shouldn't use props because you're just going into the stretch naturally. Well, I mean, ideally, if your body's natural, then do it naturally. I fell off a train bridge when I was 14. I had whiplash when I was 21. I weighed 250 pounds, and I traveled on airplanes so much that my hips got tight as hell. So, I mean, I would love to not use props, but you know what I prefer? I prefer not having to use energy to get the same effect more effectively. And in fact, in the using of props, I get far better results because I'm not wasting my energy trying to balance myself. So, whatever works for you. I'd rather look like an idiot and get results. So I'm going to use props. So, but anyway, work from where you're at. Like my heel, I have to stop sometimes on my heel. I might go too far in a stretch. One thing about that is, let's go into the next level now. Okay, so if we deal with today through shaking, breathing, and alignment, and then we prepare for tomorrow through tending, customizing, stabilizing, and opening, then how do we take care of yesterday? Or rather, the next start. And so one of the things is aware. Now, I'm using awareness in terms of really paying attention. So when I'm doing my deep flexibility, I'm hyper-focusing on the part that I'm stretching so I don't hurt myself. Aware is empty movement. So when I move Like if I have one arm and it starts to get tired, I don't just let that arm go. I add the other arm in. I transfer the balance so that the part of the body that's being stretched doesn't experience any kind of reflex response. And so I'm trying to really go slow and empty and trying to get things to be gentle. And really, it's a mechanical reason. When you put your body under pressure, as soon as you release that pressure, your vagus nerve, your vagal system, is prepared to release into your body. And it's going to actually do repair and all that kind of stuff. It expects you because traditionally you respond quickly, right? You get a signal, you come back. Well, what if you don't come back fast? What if you come back 1% and just pause? I can tell you what happens. It's like pouring extra gas onto a fire. Your vagus nerve turns up. So I've had my vagus nerve go up using, I think the RMS DD, I think, is that the one? Going up 80 to 100, to 80 to or 100. So going up like, 60 to 80 points in, I want to say 10, 15 seconds. So just, you can do that. And really what that is you're doing proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, sort of on your nervous system. So what I'm doing is I get myself into discomfort, hold it, and then instead of go, release, I go, hold it, and then come back a little bit, wait, let the blood flow, let things calm down slowly, and then come out and relax. So that's awareness, all right? And we talked about release as well in there. And then the relax is silence, just sitting at the edge of discomfort and pain eventually. So these little things, you go from shake, which is the universal noise of the universe. Breath gives you the energy. Alignment, it just magnifies everything. When you want to prepare for tomorrow, you tend, you stabilize, you open up, and then you pay attention for getting ready to sort of go back in time and erase sort of the if you will, the trauma and the confusion of the past so that the tomorrow was even better. Awareness, releasing, and silence. Now, these are just 9 words for placeholders. These are categories. They're written in paper. And in fact, here, actually, I had something I wanted to read on that before. I'll rip that in a second. Hey, no, I already said that. Good. So I don't read this. Doesn't matter. I've got it in my head. And it doesn't even matter what the 9 words are. The reason I like those 9 words is they're short, and when you read them, they kind of flow like a mantra. And the mantra for me would be just so I can memorize a particular set of words so I don't have to waste time trying to remember the right word. Because, for example, before where I think it was conscious, no, was it conscious? It was something like that. And it looked fine on paper, but when I read it, it didn't have the right shape in the way I said the word. And aware has the right shape. And it has to do with how you form the word. With one word, you have to sort of start it hard and let it release. And with the other word, you go into it. And that's a pretty interesting observation that I didn't make the observation, the AI did for me, and it made that observation. I'm like, oh, well, okay, that kind of tracks for me. But it didn't really matter. I mean, I when I read it, I knew it was wrong. The word is fine, it doesn't matter. But for the particular intended use, it didn't fit. It took extra effort. And so thought about a couple options. I was just typing something out, and then aware came to me. And I don't want awareness, or I don't want anything burdened, because I want words that are simple and lightweight, just as categories. Because here's the thing, if you're learning something new, you need a way to categorize things so that you can remember it. And if you have a basic categorization system, then, and if you're practiced in it, like for example, I've been really practicing triads a lot. So now I'm organizing things in triads just naturally. If with a little bit of practice, it does a couple things. Your brain just gets better at it, right? It gets better. And if you keep doing it, it says, oh, you're going to keep doing this? Fine. Oh, fine. Okay, I'm going to cache this in, compress it a little bit so you don't have to put so much effort into it. It's just like a chess master. A new chess person, you look at their brain as pretty much noise. If you start to look at someone who can play, but they're still not a master, there's a lot of brain activity. the closer you get to mastery, the less you're thinking, the more, and really, it's really, I think, the difference between wave thinking and linear thinking. That is, you've managed to isolate the possible states and patterns of the board to the point, and also the projections of those states. You've seen it so much and thought about it so much that you've pretty much projected most of the state space into some kind of fractal crystal in your brain. And so you can just basically play things out rapidly and walk through things. And that's actually what I'm doing right now. I'm doing the exact same thing, and I'm using that symbol set, but it's the same process. And chess is far more complicated, and I can understand the structure of the game, but I can't play the game. I mean, I know the rules, I can play the game, but I don't have I can't play it at all. But I can look at its shape, and I can look at sort of what's going on. And you think about it, you've got a series of constraints, and you've got a bidirectional feedback, a co-creation, right? So if you think about it, you start with chess. Now, interestingly, the first sample has to be picked. In the game, it's white. Okay, so great. White goes first. So they take the first sample or make the first move. They are the first person to project something, actually not the first sample, they're the first output, right, response. They put the first sample into the context, the board, right? And then you look at that, you notice it, so that's intake. Significance, they moved a rook, meaning movement open, classic movement pattern X. I mean, I know there are patterns. I don't know the patterns, but I know there are patterns because there are always patterns. If there's not patterns, it's noise. So not patterns means you're looking at noise or you don't understand. But anyway, so then I, or whoever the other person, the other side, they update the context. And then the first player is, they notice you moved that, set this thing, and they knew their context, and they try to guess your knowledge of your context, of their context as well as their context. And then they start to map all that. And do you notice how quickly it gets really complicated? You look at potential. And so if you haven't got a way to compress the representation of the context in which you're in, then it's noise. And then once you have noise, you can have rules. Rules allow you to sort of at least piece things together. But the problem is the rules, you have to go through them. Is it this rule? Is it that rule? So there's a lot of sampling and filtering. There's just a lot of linear processing and over processing. But eventually, you get the gestalt of those rules. You don't look at the rules as steps. You look at them as shapes. And then you look at them as consequences and relationships. And then all of a sudden, the information goes from linear to some kind of infinite collection of signs as mapped into the neural network. And when your brain is calm, your nervous system is calm, there's not a lot of noise there. The brain can scan for patterns and collapse, and conserve. And it all starts with shaking. And I'm not going to, given how late it is tonight, I'm not going to stretch, but honestly, I don't need to stretch. I'm quite flexible already. And I've done enough stuff recently that I think I still want my collagen, which has now nicely aligned, to have some more time to rest. Sometimes the best thing you can do is almost nothing. I'd say shake. But sometimes nothing is the right thing to do. And that's one last thing I want to finish on. If you can't do nothing, you don't have freedom. If you can't say no, you don't have choice. You have to have the option to just not participate, or you don't have choice. And that's even if you're given 3 options. All right, so I just want to say, if no isn't an option, then really, here's what I'm really saying. You want 3, and the 4th one should be no. Now, no and 2 options is still better than 2. But no, if no isn't an option, you better have 3. And by the way, sometimes no isn't an option if you want to keep your job. It's not that you have to keep your job. It's that if you don't keep your job, you don't have money, if you don't, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not, no decisions are independent. Everything is empty. So there's consequences. So now notice what we're doing is we're doing a projection of consequences through a graph of relationships to try to figure out what the right action is. And when your brain is noisy, it has to walk and talk, literally talk. But when you turn down that noise, you know what you hear? You hear fuzz, shh, because the brain's just operating in superfluid state, And it doesn't need to use words to communicate. It's just stimulating things in the right order to make stuff happen. The quantum foam, maybe yeah, why not? The quantum foam of your brain is able to pop the right patterns instantaneously because the wave function of the representation of the desire passes through the quantum foam, crashing the bubbles, making the shapes that weren't even there appear. It's almost as if the experience itself produces the shape in the brain, but it's not that it produces it, it projects it into an existing shape that was already previously recorded at a different resolution at a different time, so it's always in approximation. And see, doesn't that sound like I know what I'm talking about? I'm just sort of using a simple set of symbols to walk through a set of graphs and symbols and words and using just enough specific words from different domains to sound like I'm really smart, but I'm not. I'm general, but I'm not smart. And that's an important distinction. I know calculus well enough to know a couple of important facts about it. And if I had to, I could find my Calculus for Dummies book if I still have it and maybe do it. But someone who actually does calculus, they just do it. So I'm linear at calculus, but I'm wave at understanding a lot of the significant importance. Like for example, the second derivative is local minima. And the idea of local minima is important in reality because if you start looking at words that are for all time, they're abstractions, they don't exist. Now, it turns out no words actually exist, they're all empty. But the ones that say like for all time, those are the ones that tend to catch your psyche, your ego, because there's an incongruence between reality, that is, I'm going to live for 70 years or whatever, and forever. And when you have the consequence of forever, the brain can't latch on to that. And so it's like a notch. It's just a hangnail. It's something you gotta peck at. And because you got to peck at it, it causes ATP. It causes you to use a lot of energy. And a lot of things, like for example, how does the brain compress the infinite? And you use that 9-point system. There's recursion in there, infinite recursion in that 9-point system. And there's also completion. It starts with noise. If you think about it, the quantum foam is noise. It goes through a series of transition, breath for energy, etc. If you want to model, it goes through the 3 dantians. The lower dantian are the first 3, right? Shake, breathe, integrate. And the next 3 are the mid dantian. And the final 3 are the top dantian. And these are just a system to sort of compress information to look at reality in a way so that you have a base way to frame things. Now, I am not at all suggesting this is your only model at all. In fact, what I'm saying is when you're ready to make your first sample of a context, like you're going into a new system, there's a model over here I can use. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out from the general model, is there a more specific model that's going to work in this situation? For example, I don't need to solve traveling salesman when I got a linked list, right? Order is n, right? Traveling salesman is for a graph. Well, it turns out a linked list is a graph, but we know the solution for that, and it's not NP hard. So a general algorithm in a context of in a series of contexts might be the right solution or might be the wrong solution. So notice, it's not about the appropriate, it's about the appropriateness of the algorithm or the shape to the context in which you need to use it. But the thing about it is, if you get the general shape, a triad of 3 triads, which gives you, each triad gives you sort of a vector. And so if you have a triad of 3 triads, you now have a space. And when you have a space, you have volume and you have places to store things. So it allows you to get a first cut of a large system without having to have a lot of structural terminology and such. Anyway, I digress. I've been shaking for a long time now. I'm gonna be a little more aggressive for just a second. And then I'm gonna check my arms. Actually, yeah, I'm really, yeah. Sometimes when I start to get loose, I can do sort of just subtle motions with my feet and it goes all the way up my body. So yeah, I've got myself very loose. I've got a little bit of sweat on my forearms, my forehead, actually my whole body. Maybe not my legs, tingling all over. Oh man. And I'm ready to go to sleep. Paradox Diaries 7.1.